Hello everyone, welcome to Motovlog on my channel. My name is Marshall3498, and on today's Motovlog I'm going to be comparing two bikes today. One, the first bike I'm going to be comparing the other bike is to my 2016 Yamaha FJR 1300 and a 2018 plus and up, the newest generation as of filming this in 2025 Honda Goldwing. And yes, I know, comparing a Honda Goldwing, the newest generation as of filming this, to a Yamaha FJR, some people are going to be like, you can't compare a sport touring bike like the Yamaha FJR to a Honda Goldwing. Is, hear me out. Okay, so to be honest, like, you know, the Yamaha FJR, in my opinion, is a fantastic sport touring bike. It's good, you know, it has really good wind protection with a wide fairing and a height adjustable windshield that goes up and down by a button, just like the Honda Goldwing. You know, it's good on back roads, it's good on the interstate, it's good in, you know, commuting on it to work, on the FJR, that is. It's a really good all-around touring bike, but you know, I'm mid-40s, 45 years old right now, and I feel like, you know, my next step up to a bike that's more comfortable, has you know, more creature comforts, is something like a Honda Goldwing. And you know, those of you who think a Goldwing is an old man's bike, in my opinion, you're kind of wrong, because, you know, the Honda Goldwing, the newest gen, is smaller, sleeker, more modern than the generation before, in my opinion. It's so comfortable, where it, and I think the Yamaha FJR that I'm riding, where the differences matter in the comfort is the riding position. You know, on a, well, there's gravel everywhere in this road, sorry. Is the Honda Goldwing, your leg position, your legs and your hips, and, you know, comparing to your torso and your upper body, your legs and your knees and your hips are straight down in a 90-degree angle, just like people talk about a bike is as comfortable as an armchair, and the Honda Goldwing, I hate to admit it, you know, is. It's so comfortable there. The ride, you know, the suspension on the FJR, especially if you have an electronic suspension like I do, you can put it in soft and it'll be fairly soft and fairly much like an old Cadillac, for lack of a better term. It's pretty floaty on the rear shock on, you know, an ES model FJR, but the front fork is still somewhat stiff for, you know, the sporting part of sport touring. Honda Goldwing, the newest one, has that W wishbone front suspension, and there's no front forks like on a conventional bike. You know, when you hit road imperfection or a big bump or a pothole or a manhole cover, there's no shock up through the bars. So even though you can feel hitting that bump, that jar, for lack of a better term, and, you know, where it pushes that front fork up, doesn't get translated to the bars at all. It does make the front end, however, feel a little vague, as far as you don't know what that front tire is doing. But it has very good grip and very good road manners, and it's just, the one I rode was a 2014 DCT tour pack, or tour, with a big tour pack on the back for carrying a bunch of luggage and stuff with you. You know, that's the cream of the crop. Yes, it's kind of old manish looking or whatever, but if you want the ultimate in luxury touring, with a little bit of sport touring, the bike is fast enough to get out of its own way, even though it is a Goldwing. It's a, you know, 832cc opposed 6-cylinder It makes a little over 100 horsepower and over 100 foot-pounds of torque. So it is no slouch. Granted, they are, for those of you who are, really interested in riding a little quicker, grass all on the road. Hate it when people do that this time of the year. But, it's governed electronically at 118 miles an hour. Which, let's be honest, any faster on a motorcycle than 80, it seems really much faster than what it is compared to an automobile, I'll be honest. And if you have to pass a semi to get away from their dirty air and semis all over the road like they tend to do, if you're in the fast lane doing 80, 85, on a trip, you've got enough top end speed to get past that truck fairly quickly and then slow back down to a more appropriate and legal speed. But the transmission, the DCT, for just for commuting to work or a long trip or a lot of back roads, it's not that constant shifting. And there's going to be a lot of you in the comments are going to be like, I'd never have an automatic motorcycle. Well, that may be true, and you may be old school and biased, but I urge you, if you've never ridden something with a DCT, whether that be a Goldwing or a Honda Africa Twin, or even the Honda NC 750, they make those also in a DCT. That DCT transmission, Honda's had that in ATVs since like the late 90s, early 2000s, and that whether an ATV and it have a lot in common, they don't, but that technology, that transmission just keeps evolving into today's world, over 20 years later, and they've really got it refined and dialed in. It shifts so seemingly smooth, it's kind of crazy. You can't really feel that shift. If you're not listening for it or paying attention to it, you really don't even feel it. It's very, very comfortable, very smooth, and it kind of, I rode the bike mostly in tour mode, and yes, you can still override it and put it manual and shift when you want to. If say you're on a back road and you're riding a little more spirited riding, you can also do that, and not let the computer think for you, so to speak. But it does a very good job. It has 6 piston front calipers on each side of its dual front disc brakes, so it has incredible brakes. But the Goldwings are made for 2-up or one person with all the stuff they can fit on the bike, so it has to be able to have some good stopping power because it's a heavy motorcycle. It's approaching 900 pounds at a DCT. I think Honda's claimed weight on it is like 850 pounds, just the bike without a passenger or a rider and passenger. So there's a lot of weight there to stop. And when I rode it, I used my normal 2-finger, like you can probably tell on the camera, that I'm used to using, and at times even that was too much. But because of it having an electronic suspension, there's no hardly dive at all, and that front suspension helps keep it from doing that. But the fact that it's electronic front suspension on the tour, it overrides that just a little bit more, I feel like. Even though there are some things that a Honda Goldwing doesn't have, like it should at the top tier bike, in my opinion, it still should have an IMU, which would maybe help the transmission not to shift when you're leaned way over or like in a hairpin. But like I said, you can always override that and shift it manually. It has 2 paddles right here, one in the front, one here by your thumb, and you can just shift how you want to shift. If you don't like that, non-control, it is a little weird to get used to DCT, but that's not the first time I've ridden a DCT. I've ridden a Honda Africa Twin DCT before, and stopping is a little weird, or like slow speed maneuver, but pretty much all you have to really do is use your rear brake, and you can kind of ride that at slow speeds and use that and modulate the throttle, and that kind of acts as your clutch and throttle on a traditional transmission, as far as that engagement of what you want to do going slow. But the weirdest part to me is like taking off and stopping at a red light. You're wanting to do that clutch hand, or off from a red light, you're modulating that clutch to take off at a certain speed before you put your feet up. Once you get moving just a little bit, especially in traffic, and once you got used to it and owned the bike, I feel like after a month or two, you wouldn't really even notice it. You would just be accustomed to doing whatever. But I'm very impressed with it. I do believe, like I said, it's going to be probably my next bike in a couple years, and it'll just really make long days in the saddle that much more comfortable and enjoying, and just not thinking about my knees and my hips are hurting from being such a kind of somewhat sporty position like a Yamaha FJR. But if you didn't want to go that route, you could always get something kind of a more standard, like the NT, I think it's called the NT 1100, which is basically a street version of an Africa Twin, 17-inch tires front and rear, a little bit less suspension travel, a little bit lower seat height, but those bikes don't come with saddlebags at all, so you have to add that. That's a pretty additional cost from the get-go. And a whole lot lighter bike. I think the NT 1100, it's supposed to come to the US this year in 2025, so I hear anyway. And that bike kind of is, if you don't want an Africa Twin, you can get one of those and be a little better road bike than Africa Twin, even the Adventure Sport, the new one with a 19-inch front wheel. But I really think I'm pretty much sold already on getting a Goldwing in a couple years, and I'm kind of looking forward to that. It's not that I disapprove of the Yamaha FJR, but that I actually talked to two people who at where I rode the bike at, Southern Honda Power Sports in Chattanooga, Tennessee, just a couple hours away from me. They're kind of in the southern part of East Tennessee, where I'm in kind of the northern. And I spoke to two gentlemen who both had FJRs and went from FJR. They're about my age, maybe a little bit older, in their early 50s, and both of them went from an FJR to a new Gen Goldwing, a 2018 plus and above. And I tell you what, and it's a Honda. It has everything you can think of and that much more. And I'm really impressed of the bike, and I'm a hard one to impress. I've ridden now for 10 plus years as of filming this, and I'm pretty much sold. That'll be my next bike, and probably the last big bike I'll ever buy till I'm unable to ride physically at my aging ways, we'll say. But lots of traffic today. It's Saturday, right before Easter. Everybody's doing everything outside because it's pretty, and it's a little nuts around, even in the back roads this area. But on that, guys, if you've not already done so, please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Ride safe and have fun. We'll see you on the next one. See ya.